For today's meditation, let us read from 2 Kings, chapter 14, verses 8 to 14. Then Amasiah sent messengers to Jehoash, the son of Jehoash, son of Jehu, king of Israel, saying, "Come, let us look one another in the face." And Jehoash, king of Israel, sent word to Amasiah, king of Judah, "A thistle on Lebanon sent to a cedar on Lebanon, saying, 'Give your daughter to my son for a wife.' And a wild beast of Lebanon passed by and trampled down the thistle. You have indeed struck down Edom, and your heart has lifted you up. Be content with your glory and stay at home. For why should you provoke trouble so that you fall, you and Judah with you?" But Amasiah would not listen. So Jehoash, king of Israel, went up, and he and Amasiah, king of Judah, faced one another in battle at Bethshemesh, which belongs to Judah. And Judah was defeated by Israel, and every man fled to his home. And Jehoash, king of Israel, captured Amasiah, king of Judah, the son of Jehoash, son of Ahaziah, at Bethshemesh, and came to Jerusalem, and broke down the wall of Jerusalem for 400 cubits, from the Ephraim gate to the corner gate. And he seized all the gold and silver, and all the vessels that were found in the house of the Lord, and in the treasuries of the king's house, also hostages, and he returned to Samaria. Amasiah, the king of Judah, offers us a sobering lesson in the dangers of half-hearted devotion and perilous path of presumptuousness. His life is recounted in this chapter and in 2 Chronicles 25. Serves as a mirror reflecting our tendencies to trust in our strength, overlook the grace of God, and defy His counsel, often to our detriment and the harm of those around us. Amasiah began his reign on a note of partial righteousness. He avenged the murder of his father, a legitimate act to secure justice. Yet he tempered his vengeance by obeying the Mosaic law. He refrained from putting the murderer's children to death, upholding the divine principle, fathers shall not die because of their children, nor children die because of their fathers, but each one shall die for his own sin. At this point, Amasiah seemed to walk in the light of God's law, displaying a semblance of righteousness. Yet, as the story unfolds, we see his heart's divided allegiance leading to tragic consequences. The campaign against the Edomites revealed both Amasiah's pragmatic approach to warfare and his shallow faith. He mustered an army of 3,000 men fit for war and supplemented his force by hiring 100,000 mighty men of valor from Israel for a hefty sum of 100 talents of silver. His strategic planning seemed sound, but it disregarded God's displeasure with Israel's idolatry and disobedience. A prophet warned Amasiah not to align himself with Israel, assuring him that God's favor would secure victory without the hired help. When Amasiah hesitated, concerned about the financial loss, the prophet's words echoed with divine authority. "The Lord is able to give you much more than this." Amasiah reluctantly obeyed and sent the mercenaries home, but his half-hearted trust in God was evident. The dismissed Israelites, angry at being rejected, retaliated by raiding Judah's cities, killing 3,000 people and plundering the land. Though Amasiah achieved a significant victory over the Edomites, killing 10,000 in battle and executing another 10,000 by casting them off from a cliff, his success was marred by the loss and devastation wrought by their earlier alliance with Israel. Tragically, victory became the snare that exposed Amasiah's deeper flaws. Returning home, he brought with him the gods of Edom and worshipped them, provoking God's anger. A prophet confronted him, asking, "Why have you sought the gods of a people who did not deliver their own people from your hand?" The logic was irrefutable, but Amaziah's heart was hardened by pride. Instead of repenting, he silenced the prophet with a threat, dismissing divine counsel with arrogant defiance. Herein lies a profound human flaw. When we experience success, we are prone to attribute it to our abilities, forgetting that every victory is a gift from God. Ministries, careers, and personal endeavors that begin with humble dependence on God often fall into this trap. Over time, leaders and individuals may start to believe their strength and wisdom are the reasons for their achievements. Instead of giving God the glory, they glorify themselves. Proverbs warns against this attitude in Proverbs 18. Whoever isolates himself seeks his own desire. He breaks out against all sound judgment. A fool takes no pleasure in understanding, but only in expressing his opinion. Amaziah's pride led him to an even greater mistake. Emboldened by his victory over Edom, he sought revenge against Israel for the raid they had carried out earlier. His confidence rested on his military strength, believing himself superior to the weakened forces of Israel. However, the king of Israel, Jehoash, warned him with a parable. A thistle in Lebanon sent to a cedar in Lebanon, saying, "Give your daughter to my son for a while." And a wild beast of Lebanon passed by and trampled down the thistle. The warning was clear. Amaziah was a thistle, fragile and overreaching, while Israel, despite its reduced state, was still formidable under God's sovereignty. Amaziah ignored the warning, and the consequences were disastrous. His army was defeated, the wall of Jerusalem was broken down, treasures from the temple and the king's house were seized, and hostages were taken to Samaria. His presumptuousness not only brought personal humiliation, but also inflicted suffering on his people. What lessons can we draw from Amaziah's tragic story? First, we must recognize the danger of pride and presumption in our relationship with God. Every success we experience is ultimately the result of God's grace. Jeremiah reminds us in Jeremiah chapter 9, verse 23 and 24. Let not the wise man boast in his wisdom. Let not the mighty man boast in his might. Let not the rich man boast in his riches. But let him boast in this, that he understands and knows me, that I am the Lord who practices steadfast love, justice, and righteousness in the earth. For in these things I delight, declares the Lord. When we face victory or success, let us give credit where it is due to God. We must cultivate a heart of humility, acknowledging that without Him, we can do nothing. When leaders or individuals exalt themselves above the God who enabled their achievements, they risk alienation from Him and bring harm to those around them. Secondly, we must listen to God's counsel and heed His warnings. When Amaziah was corrected by the prophet, his response was not repentance, but rebellion. How often do we resist correction, clinging to our pride or self-reliance? The wise person welcomes godly counsel and adjusts their course accordingly, while the fool rejects it to their detriment. Lastly, we learn the importance of wholehearted devotion to God. Half-hearted obedience, as seen in Amaziah's life, leads to disaster. God desires our undivided allegiance, not a superficial acknowledgement of His sovereignty. When we give Him our whole heart, we walk in His blessing and avoid the pitfalls of self-reliance and idolatry. In practical terms, let us examine our lives for areas where pride or self-sufficiency may have taken root. Are there victories or accomplishments for which we have failed to give God the glory? Are we resisting correction or dismissing the warnings of godly counsel? Let us humble ourselves before God, confess our shortcomings, and seek His grace to live in full dependence on Him. May we learn from Amaziah's mistakes and pray, Lord, save us from presumptuousness. Keep us humble and fully devoted to You. Let us delight in the knowledge of God and find our security not in our strength, wealth, or wisdom, but in His steadfast love and faithfulness. God bless.